Welcome back to War Thunder, and welcome back to ships. Yes, that game mode where even the British have APAG. Sorry about this, couldn't resist. I had a very good time playing the ships over the course of the weekend, and I hope you guys also have access to it. Yeah, it's not the first time that I talk about ships, but I think overall Couldn has made some improvements, although I will summarize what I think about the ships later on in a criticism part. Now, criticism is always like me ranting or, you know, saying negative things about certain aspects of the game, but that's not always true. I try to improve the game by pushing out content about various topics. It's not always successful, let's put it that way, but at least I try. And well, about this portion I have to say Couldn has still a lot of work to do, but one of the key aspects I think is there, and that is fun. But it's not that easy to just say, oh, it's fun, so everything's alright. No, we will come to this in quite a moment. So in the background you can see me playing the German Z20, and there is an entire flotilla of enemy destroyers in front of me. Now, you might have seen the video on Sunday where I single-handedly wiped out 5 enemy ships in under 2 minutes. Yeah, I just can't stop playing the Z20. I'm already waiting for the next iteration of the test going live so I can enjoy playing this ship. A lot of people will make content about ships, and that's fine, but I think I just played it not so much for getting, you know, footage out. I mean, I record it all the time, but I was really trying to have fun and to, yeah, know a bit about the game mechanics. What can I do and what can I achieve? What do I get most out of the battle? Learning for the future, basically. So usually when I make, for example, when I want to make a video about a tank, I record and I go for the battle that has the most kills, the most action, shows good scenes about various different aspects of game mechanics and so on. But this one is just, yeah, you know, me going ham on enemy destroyers and aiming at a very specific part of their ship. There's still some very indirect aim going on, but I'm getting closer, and there it is, the frontal ammo rack. Thank you very much. This is practically the dark secret. If you miss it, if you do not lead enough, then still you will hit the engine room and disable the enemy's ship's ability to turn, and that still opens up their broadside. But even if they go bow on, you can just try to do a little bit of plunging fire into their ammunition storage. About the game mechanics, you fire APAG shells for all nations except Japan, which are limited to just HE, which makes them, for me personally, the weakest nation in terms of destroyers, or the weakest destroyer, let's put it that way. But it's still fun. Also, thanks to the rework of CAS, planes are not as ridiculous as they used to be, but they're still very powerful. Torpedo bombers are fun, but I will not show you in this gameplay. And overall, I have to say that everything seems to be okay. Everything seems to be, you know, on a right course, I'd say. Couldn is also currently working on light cruisers, and there it will be very fun when it comes to their main battery firepower. I mean, there is, for example, the German light cruisers I know a bit about, like the Nürnberg and so on, or the Königsberg. And it will be pretty fun to fire 9-15 centimeter guns at once, and we will see how it will work out. Another thing that I really have to point out, get your settings right. This is one of the key aspects, to know how to switch between primary armament and secondary armament to harass ships and planes alike with the automatic gunner. You have to toggle them. You can see the you can see the symbol at what the gunners are trained to fire at in the bottom left corner, where there is the X-ray model of the ship, and it is to the right hand side of it. It's that aiming circle with the plane on top. So currently the gunners are just shooting or concentrating on planes, and their success rate is okayish once the planes get a bit closer. So if you are lurking around in your planes too long in the anti-aircraft bubble, I'd say, or a certain sphere around the ship, you will eventually take damage by the AI gunners themselves. So destroyers can be a little bit like how to say it, yeah, mobile airfields in terms of anti-aircraft power. So for all of you that know the strength of AAA on main airfields in RRB, you know how it feels like to go near. About the Fletcher, those proximity fuses are insane. They are extremely efficient. If you just aim in the general vicinity of a patrol boat, the shells will explode above them and just absolutely wreck them. However, there is also a downside to them, and that is if you have, for example, an attack wave of 3 patrol boats and you take down the one in front of them, then the proximity fuses still will get activated or triggered by the vicinity of the destroyed patrol boat. So practically, if you just load this HE type, then the ships behind them are more or less safe. So keep that in mind. And the solution for that is that you just simply, how to say it, load a second type of HE. The Fletcher has the ability, and that makes it so universally strong. Also, the Fletcher, in comparison to the other destroyers, has very fast turret rotation speed, very good mobility, and all that stuff. It's a really great destroyer, believe me that. But the Z-20 is just so, it's the most tankiest ship, I'd say. It can take an absurd amount of damage compared to the other ones. It can absolutely wreck them. It's more like a little, I hesitate to use the word battleship, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like a light cruiser nearly in its handling abilities, or what I expect from a light cruiser. And again, you can see me actually trying to nearly shoot into the water to get those frontal ammo racks below the turrets. And even if a lot of shells might land in the water, doesn't matter, because those who hit are getting awfully close to the ammunition, and eventually you will put down the enemy. And look at how he goes to the side and actually makes it a bit easier to hit the ammo rack, because he goes to one side. At least that's the theory, but I'm just not able to hit the bloody ammo rack. And so I try my best with torps. And yeah, it's again one of the setting things. You have to know how to control your ship. It's unlike any kind of plane, unlike any kind of tank that you might have driven so far, because there's just so much to do in ships. And a good, well, how to say it, a good indication is that there are so many people on board on one ship that it needs to make it, well, work. And for a plane can be controlled by a single pilot. A bomber has, of course, sometimes more pilots, and mostly gunners. And a tank then also has various different people that are specialized. So the task to let a ship semi-realistically be controlled by one person is quite a challenge. And yeah, it's Gaijin offers us a lot of options, and you really have to go through them. So this is one of the most important tasks that I can give you. So you also can see that I target my gunners to shoot at ships, and they also open fire up until this enemy Z20, and I'm also switching target to this guy here. And again, I just go for the anorak. It could be useful again to go for the disabling shots like the turrets, or yeah, make all the sections of a ship black. But first of all, it's ammunition ineffective. It takes you a very long time, and it opens you up to enemy fire. And to disable those turrets is just possible with, well, directly hitting them with AP. So this is again one part that makes the Yugamo not so strong in my opinion. So what has to improve further so we can have more fun in the game, go a bit more into game mechanics? Well, there are actually a lot of things to talk about, but again, this is pre-beta, so it's just it's just things that I point out. It's not really bad criticism like, oh, this is unrepairable. We need more information. We need to look at the ships in our port, and also I want to see kind of the, well, armor values, because APHE shells currently, which I fire like 90% of the cases, they have a fuse. So the Z20 in particular has practically Yak Tiger guns with the same ammunition. So fuse sensitivity 28 millimeters. Does any kind of destroyer have armor with 28 millimeters so that the shell gets actually triggered? Well, no, or at least I don't know, because the shells in the hit cam are actually acting more like solid shots, even for the British. But still, it's AP, and it goes a very long way within the ship. And this is also the reason why I think you can aim at any angle at the frontal ammo rack and still hit it. That's a good thing and a bad thing. So when you get shot, just hope that he doesn't aim right. There are many more things that I have to suggest, and well, currently that's the end of this battle, and I will hang on some other gameplay. For example, the USS Fletcher. Again, it has overall the best handling. I think it also has the highest battle rating, so that would explain a lot of things. It's a late World War II design, so obviously it has the tendency to behave better. So back to the criticism part. What things that I would like to see added or changed? For example, torpedoes. I have no idea how far they reach. I just can hope that the torpedoes on those ships are somewhat similar to those of planes, and that then would mean that I can look at the plane stat card. But then again, you know, so it would be nice to have a indication at which part I have a chance to launch my torpedoes, with them actually being physically able to hit the enemy ship in terms of pure range. I can see the smoke. Yeah, the smoke is really dense. I can see absolutely nothing. By the way, a smoke always serves me as kind of a torpedo magnet. I always would love to shoot a few torpedoes into a smoke if somebody really tries to hide within. You know, this is not World of Warships. Then also a torpedo reload for ships in realistic, for example, at the capture zone of A, where the patrol boats are, that you simply have a pier once you have captured the zone, where you can stay right next to it and rearm the torpedoes, much like you could rearm shells within a cap circle for tanks, or rearm your plane on the airfield. Then maybe also some kind of sonar for torpedo detection. This is more or less than something for sim, but you know, so that you could, if you expect torpedoes, that you have some kind of indicator, a acoustic indicator, something like that. Then also the thing about repair times. I get it that you need to repair for quite some time, but the repair times are too short for being realistic, but too long in my opinion for proper gameplay. That's just my personal opinion. And also one part is if, for example, you're currently repairing something and it gets set on fire, and obviously you want to extinguish the fire, there is no way for you to interrupt the repair, and so both get much longer. So that is something that I don't like. This guy absolutely wrecked me with some nice shots into my ammo rack, and I really hadn't any big chance of taking him out because, well, he was behind the rack. So his ammo rack was kind of protected by ultra spaced armor. So yeah, the repair times, that has to be overworked in my opinion, but it could be worse. Then we really need a guide from Gaijin how to set up things properly, how it is intended, because the default settings in my opinion are not okay for testers. And then the biggest criticism, that is the aim. It doesn't matter in which mode I was, I absolutely had to artificially aim somewhere to destroy an enemy. And I actually followed more my tracers than I actually aimed with my aiming cross. And that's completely counterintuitive. Now let me explain. There should be two modes for direct fire when you are close in terms of proximity. Like you are so close to the enemy that you actually could look through the barrel, load a shell, pull the trigger and be guaranteed to hit it because they are so close. So when it's under, I don't know, a kilometer or 500 meters, for example with those pesky patrol boats, which are more dangerous if you have a competent play in them, as you might expect. Yeah, so that you could switch between those two modes more directly. Not that there is another mode, but it really is very strange to use. Again, I'm not perfect in this. I need to test more once the ships are out so that I can have proper test shootings, so to speak, test the mechanics, have a direct response from somebody that is with me in the custom battle and so on to test this. It's already planned, but we just have to still wait up until the point that ships come out. And then I could obviously give better feedback for Gaijin. Another part about the problematic fighting I see is very often that ships go to the open sea. So when you are, well, spawning on the upper spawn from the south scene, then you always tend to go right to the open sea to have the best kind of scenario for hitting the enemy. This is something very intuitive, but it's the entire destroyer flotillas of both teams. So just a handful of destroyers actually go into A to contest the middle cap, which then they have a lot of problems, you know, how to say it, making themselves work against the patrol boats because they have superior, and I mean very superior, maneuverability. And there you can see the repair times. 256 seconds? Really? And now I'm set on fire. And when I also extinguish the fire, both repair and extinguishing times get so much longer. I mean, so much longer. The next thing is also something that I had to criticize in Enduring Confrontation, in the 64 versus 64 iteration of Enduring Confrontation. There are not enough people on each team, so you face one, maybe two destroyers per side after a few minutes of gameplay, and that's just not very good, I'd say. So here there is again a Yugumo. He tries to turn away, and I desperately try to aim or have the right aim for the ammo rack, and you constantly see me adjusting it, And yeah, he launched torpedoes. It was predictable, and I actually thought I would get hit by those torpedoes, but a few quick torpedo beats, and there we go. And that was his one-trick pony. Now I tried to also launch torpedoes at him, but then this salvo actually immediately hit the MRAC and blew him up. So that's quite something. Also, this cap circle here, you have a very narrow area where you do not go stranded, or where you don't get stranded by the shallow water and still cap. So I capped, and I'm continuing to harass those enemy destroyers. So it would be really nice if I could somewhat more directly control my aim. Now you can see here obviously me destroying the enemy, but then I've played some sessions already, I have adapted to it, but I still don't like it. And here I switch to the HE shells and watch this. Boom. Boom. So they didn't even explode on the water, or were actually directed. And there you can see the thing that I talked about the radio proximity fuses. They explode in mid-air because they're still the ship way too close. And this allows those two guys to actually try to go around. This one went out of the, well, area where he was no longer protected by the wreck, the other one as well. But this one actually launched torpedoes, and you can see me here. It takes a while up until you accelerate, so it's not like the, I guess, British cruiser in World of Warships, where you can out-accelerate certain torpedoes if they get launched at you. And yeah, he deserved this kill. So again, let's summarize it. I think overall Gaijin is making a really good job at this. It looks awesome, it is fun, which is one of the main criteria to play the game at all. We still have all to learn a lot. We still have to set up the settings right. We have to learn to switch between certain situations. Still, situational awareness is very important. And we also have to learn when to engage the enemy under which conditions. We are waiting for new maps to come out, and all that will be more accessible to learn and to test once the ships are, well, at least in a closed beta, because again, this is pre-closed beta, it's more an event. You don't see really the ships in your harbor, I'd say. I mean, yeah, you could make a screenshot through the result screen and get some not very sharp pictures, but you know what I mean. I'm talking really about the stats, having a good look at the ship and so on. And yeah, those are my impressions for this iteration on the test of the pre-closed beta test for ships. I really like it. The aiming system needs an overhaul still. The smoke is a nice addition. Then to switch between secondary and primary armament and toggle your gunners and keep all the settings up is not very easy, but still can be learned. And I really want to see armor within ships, because I think if you have to directly hit an enemy MRAC with an APHE shell, then why does have the Jagdtiger such a big HE load if it doesn't explode inside the ship? And you know, I guess all those destroyers are also designed to fight other destroyers. And then there are, of course, the visuals. I mean, look at this. It's awesome, isn't it? Yeah, and I think that's it finally for me. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more. Also, let me know in the comment section what changes you want to see. And yes, Gaijin is working on bigger ships, but you know, they still have to get the basics right, they still have to get the small ships right, and also have to find a way to make your maps that are playable for all classes of ships, which is not an easy task. And with that words, that's the end of the video. So we'll see each other in the skies, on the battlefields, and on the waves of War Thunder.